friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be reviewing a very I don't know if you can hear that on the camera. New apartments like right on the street. So this time around I'm going to be going ahead and reviewing a book that's very popular-ish. It's gone around TikTok and BookTube, and that is Verity by Colleen Hoover. I read this for Trick or Treat-a-thon, so I will leave my playlist of Trick or Treat-a-thon stuff down below and all the things that we did, because if y'all missed out, then that sucks. I do have quite a lot of things to say, so let's just kind of get into it, and hopefully this video isn't too long, because we all know I like to talk. So Verity, if you haven't been like around the block and heard about this book, this is Colleen Hoover's only adult like thriller novel. I don't know why she decided to venture out and do a thriller novel, but you know, we're not going to question her and her publisher's approval. But this is an adult thriller novel following a young downtrodden author named Lowen, who is basically just kind of stuck. Her mom's died of cancer, girl got no money whatsoever. That is until one day she is reached out to by her publisher because another publisher wants her to finish ghostwriting the series that Verity, a well-known like kind of thriller author, has written. Verity was in a car accident and is currently unable to finish off the series, so they're asking her to ghostwrite. Now, during this time, Lowen goes to Verity's house and lives there for a few weeks while she looks at like the notes and the outlines and all the character stuff of her books. There, she finds some kind of weird, sinister stuff going on that may or may not. She finds a manuscript, actually, an autobiographical manuscript from Verity that may or may not change how Verity's husband is going to look at her, which would suck because Verity is like on permanent bed rest. I don't know what it's called. Like she's not paralyzed. What is it? She's not in comatose. She's alive, but she's not all there. I forget the actual term. It's fine. Now, trigger warnings for this book, and there's a lot, so I'm just gonna pull out my handy dandy phone. There is child death, child murder, parental death, murder in general, drowning, attempted abortion, attempted home abortion, sexual content, child violence, verbal abuse, and just regular violence. It's a list. It's a list. I'm sure I've missed some, so I will also be leaving like the Wikipedia that has all the trigger warnings just in case I miss something. Because even I was sitting here like, I was like, oh my god, do I want to do a book review on this fucker? Because there's a laundry list of things. There's a laundry list of things. Now moving on to the first thoughts of the book. I have heard so many good things about this book. I have a few friends who have read it and absolutely loved it. Like they said they loved it more than her romance novels, which is weird considering I feel like the way she wrote this book, she could easily find her footing as a thriller novelist, but neither here nor there. But I also heard some mixed things from other friends saying it wasn't that great, it was kind of meh, the plot twist was just not amazing, so I was kind of hesitant but also really excited to get into it just because I was like, listen, this book has to be kind of decent for a well-known romance novelist to dip her toes into thrillers. So I went into it and was like, okay, we will read and we will see what we think. Moving on to the good things that I liked. I actually really enjoyed the plot. I thought that the plot being framed around Lowen finding this autobiographical like manuscript that Verity wrote regarding like her deepest, darkest thoughts and all the things that she's tried to do and has done in the past, amazing. Verity as a character was absolutely terrifying. Not only is Verity like this well-known author, but it's very clear throughout this entire novel that she like manipulates reality and truth to do whatever she needs it to do, which is just like absolutely terrifying. The prose in itself, both Lowen's perspective and then Verity's own like writing, amazing. I was super engulfed by how Lowen saw the world and how she kind of figured things out, and I was super engulfed in the horrifying things that Verity did, like getting completely obsessed with her husband, trying to successfully murdering one child, attempting to murder another, attempting to abort said child. Just a lot of things, a lot of things happened in this novel that has me like, okay, Colleen Hoover, I guess all those novels surrounding like trauma porn of yours and your romances really pays off in a thriller novel. I also really liked Jeremy and Crue's relationship. Like I thought that father-son vibe was just absolutely perfect, and I love that he was so interactive with his son and was very much like, I have to think of Crue, I have to think of what he needs, and also letting him like partake in some of the activities he was doing, like taking apart the boards in the deck. No, was it the deck? Was it the, is it a pier? The dock? Yeah, that thing. I thought it was just very cute how they had them interact. And 10 out of 10, if Verity ever becomes a movie, I petition to have Chris Evans play Jeremy. I don't know, something about Jeremy gave me Chris Evans vibes. I think it's just because Chris Evans desperately wants to have children, and I think it just tickles something right in my head to see Chris Evans around children. The budding relationship and the relationship between Jeremy and Lowen also felt very organic to me. I didn't feel like it was like forced, kind of like in a situation where it's like, oh yeah, man with paralyzed and disabled wife, woman whom is not disabled and now living in his home, trying to take over wife's legacy. You know, it didn't feel forced to me. I felt like it happened pretty organically in the novel, and I felt like they had really good chemistry and really good banter back and forth. Like something about him being like all right because she said all right and then repeating it in bed when they were doing the do tickled something right in my head. It tickled something right in my head. I was just like, oh, it works. It genuinely works. So I was like, I felt like they were just a very nice couple, and I was like rooting for them at the end, and then sort of not at the end, and then again at the end. I'll explain in a little bit. I also felt like Colleen Hoover did a really good job of building up that kind of almost break in reality with Lowen. She does have a history of sleepwalking, so sometimes there were instances where she had to explain like, oh yeah, you have to like put a lock on my door so I don't like put myself in danger, or yada yada yada. I felt like it was very easy to like manipulate and like work around the potential break in reality while she's like trying to figure out, is Verity still in her right mind? Is she still cognitive of everything going around her and still mobile? Is she lying? It's just I felt like that potential break in reality worked out very well. Thought that it worked out really nicely, and I felt like I was also like very gaslit. It felt like I was gaslighting myself, being like, maybe she's just going crazy, you know? She's reading about this terrifying thing that Verity's doing, trying to write in a villain's perspective. Her husband's attractive. She thinks that Verity killed her children, and she sleepwalks, and she's going through all this grief and all this trauma. So it's very possible that maybe, just maybe, there's a break in reality and she's hallucinating this like paralyzed woman she's thinking that this paralyzed woman is still roaming the halls, super obsessed with her husband and waiting to kill anyone in the way. But the letter portion of this novel, like the last bit, like I have never nearly I gasped when I started reading the letter. I felt like it was just such a twist at the end to be like, oh yeah, Verity, it was actually like a novel that she was working on. She was trying to like get in the villain's head and just never told her husband, which I will expand upon in my next portion of this video. Double-edged sword, this letter. I was just in complete shock reading it. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I can't tell if this is real or not. Well, it's fiction, not real. But I can't tell if it's real to the novel or not. If this is like something that Verity's trying to do. If Verity's actually a good person. Did they just kill an innocent woman who was trying to escape a potentially abusive relationship? Or a relationship that potentially fell apart and her husband cracked because he read the manuscript and tried to kill her by driving her into a tree, which also doesn't make much sense because then that means he would end up getting hurt as well as someone in the, yeah. But it was just a plot twist. It was a twist for sure, and I was like, oh my god. Like I was just like, okay, well this is a thing. This is happening. I don't know what to process, and I don't know how to deal with it. But again, it is a double-edged sword, and I'll explain while I explain the things I did not like about the book. The only thing I did not like about the book was the letter. Now, I liked the letter for the twist. I appreciated what it did, but then when you get down to the nitty and gritty, the terrifying, I felt like the letter was too long. Like, let's see, the letter is literally like a good 10 pages. Let's see, let me find it. From 297 to 310. Like it's like, that's more than 10 pages, right? Yeah, it's about a 10-page letter. And she wrote this letter in an attempt to be like, oh yeah, no, I wrote that manuscript that you read that made you think I murdered our babies and tried to abort our babies. because I am trying to write in the villain's perspective, and because you don't pay attention at dinners when I had them with my publisher and we're discussing ideas, you didn't hear her suggest to do antagonistic journaling. So because you read that, tried to drive me into a tree, I am faking this paralyzing situation of ours, and I'm waiting for the right time to steal our son away in the night, because we can no longer be together because we are both people who chronically have bad luck and have bad things happen to us. Which then the plot twist was like, oh god, they killed a potentially loving mother. Oh dear. But again, considering that Lowen is this amazing author and someone who can manipulate truth and reality, once we hit around like page 2 of this letter, I was like, listen, this bitch is too long. At some point it becomes a scapegoat letter to be like, oh yeah, I'm actually a good human being. I love my children. I love my husband. I'm not obsessed with my husband in the slightest. At all, I did this out of necessity. But then also, you never once explained to your husband that you were going to start antagonistic journaling. You weren't like, not once in your tiny little head did you go, I should probably tell the love of my life, the father of my children, my partner of this world, that if he reads a terrifying sounding manuscript in this novel saying that I am this horrible sex-crazed obsessed woman who does not want to share her husband in under any capacity, that it's fake. But she never told him. Little sus to me. And to boot, I can't lift, I'm wearing a skirt so you'll see things if I try to lift my foot. But to boot, it just felt like there was a scapegoat for everything. She was like, I would never do this, I'm not this. I am in this incident because Jeremy drove me into a tree. I told Crew to hold his breath because I saw that the thing was tipping over. And I didn't try to save my other daughter because I thought she was right behind us. The other daughter with Asperger's syndrome, who, regardless of how old she is, depends on me to keep her safe and protected. I didn't think to have them put on life jackets like a decent human being because we weren't gonna be that deep in the water. It's just kind of suspicious to me, you know? It just felt like she was like trying to be like, yeah, in case something happens, I'm actually a wonderful woman. But then when you look at how Jeremy describes Verity, nothing about it is regarding to how much he loved his daughters, how much she loved her daughters, how much she loved his son and their life together, and how broken up she was. It was like the only thing that I heard him talk about like that was that she was a great writer and that he didn't seem to know her as well as he thought he had known her. So I don't know about y'all. The letter like was the twist that made that shook me, but then it was also the twist that after I sat down and really like thought about it, I was like, yeah, that don't make sense. So I am team manuscript all the way because that is the only one that like wraps around my head very well, and it seems to make the most amount of sense to me. I felt like that the letter was convoluted in her way, in her way of trying to get out of trouble. That I was like, listen, you crazy, you just insane, you probably need lots of therapy. Verity, lots of therapy. Overall, my thoughts, I did really enjoy this book. It was very like consuming and like very fast paced. Like I thought this book was going to take me a lot longer, and I read it in like 2-3 days, I want to say. And then I was shook for the next 2-3 days. Overall, I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. While I did enjoy it and enjoy the plot and the twist and how like everything was framed, I just hated that letter. Like literally, if you just left it at like the first 2 pages and said, I am a good person, Jeremy, love Verity, I would have believed it. I would have been like, oh shit, they just killed an innocent woman who was just trying to save her son and start a new life. But no, it was too long. It had an answer for every single thing you might have read in the manuscript, and I was like, listen, why didn't you just tell your husband you were doing a thing? Now would I recommend? I think this is a very good beginner thriller. Like there's not a lot of like mind thinking to go through, not a lot of like, oh yeah, what do I need to figure this out? It's very straightforward, very fast paced, and very quick to the point. You don't have to sit there and like draw a chart and like red thread everything to figure out who was who and what happened. the cast is pretty contained, the location is contained, and the plot itself is pretty contained. And I think it's just a very good beginner thriller for you to get like your feet wet in the genre. What do I think? Colleen Hoover should probably try to rebrand her art and move into thrillers. I think so, because at this point Homegirl loves her romances, but all of them involve like some form of trauma porn. Like I enjoy reading her books, but it's just like levels upon levels of like, how can I traumatize these characters, which I think works out better in a thriller than a romance. You know, you can include romances in thrillers and they're all gonna be fucked up characters, but it's fine. So I highly recommend it to someone who is a beginner. If you are like more into the genre and it's something that you currently consistently read, you probably won't enjoy it because, again, very contained, very fast and easy. If you want to read a book that's just like very quick and like something you don't have to think about very much as a thriller reader, probably would recommend this as well. But that's about the scope that I would recommend it. If you're beginner or someone who just wants to read a thriller that won't like require a lot of brain power. But that is it for my review of Verity by Colleen Hoover. If you guys like these kind of reviews, let me know in the comments down below and I'll try to do them. I try to do them once a month, but sometimes I am forgetful. If you guys have a specific book you want me to review, let me know in the comments. I'll try to get those super quickly. But until next time, hit like, subscribe, and comment, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye. It's RSN.